Award-winning broadcast journalist Ed Marshall asks the tough questions you want answered. Informative, soul-stirring, one-on-one interviews about matters that affect our lives in this region we call home. Here now with Conversations is Ed Marshall.
Well, hello and welcome back to Conversation with Ed Marshall. So glad you could be with us this month. You know, since the beginning of time, man has always sought out God in some form, and because of a higher power. And with so much violence going on now, we're looking for ways in every way in terms of not only our city, but cities across towns, even across America, with so much violence. And we have with us today one of my very, very good friends. We go back a long way, Mr. Dean Sunseri, who is he's a New Orleans native, but I'm gonna let him tell you about who he is and what he's about. So Dean, take it away.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for having me. Well, I lead an organization called Transform Our World New Orleans. Also a counselor. I do a lot of marriage counseling, therapy. But my heart is here today is about the organization that we lead. And what we do is we try to organize the people of our city to deal with the problems that we have. And obviously, the biggest problem that we seem to have right now is just the murders, the crime, the violence. And so our organization is it's a religious organization, and so I've had a group of people that said, well, let's start praying and see if we can get a blueprint from heaven about what to do. Mm-hmm. And so as we did that over the last couple of months, it's come to us is that we needed to raise up what we call houses of peace. And so it was a very simple form that we were given. And basically, what we're wanting the people of New Orleans to do is to declare their homes as a house of peace. And to say, I'm dedicating my home as a house of peace. Mm-hmm. I'm going to invite the Lord into my home. But the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adopt every home on my block. And I'm going to ask for God's peace and for His protection to be over every home. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing we do is we mark our home with the orange ribbon.
That's why we're wearing orange today.
Yes.
If you notice, we says orange ribbon, and it took everywhere I went yesterday to finally find an orange shirt.
We always stop it. Yeah.
So, but why the color orange?
Well, Holly Kim, my wife, came up with that, and she really felt inspired that we needed to use orange.
Who is also an artist and a therapist herself. So she's a wonderful lady. We'll have to have her with us next time. Go ahead.
Well, orange represents unity. It represents family. Also represents the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And so, and it's also not associated with, you know, the pink ribbons for the breast cancer awareness. The blue is for the honoring the police officers. And so, we chose the orange ribbon, and we wanted to be a symbol to say, no, our home is a house of peace, and we're taking the city and region back one block at a time. And so it's interesting, we had one lady who lives in Kenner. She has a home. She put an orange ribbon out, and the neighbor came up to her and said, you know, what is the orange ribbon for? And she said, that means I'm praying for you.
Wow, wow.
And I'm praying for God's protection over you, and that God's peace will live in your home.
That's heavy.
And the woman was, she teared up a little bit and was really moved that she would be doing this. Mm-hmm. And then she asked, well, can I do it also? Of course. You know, so that's the spirit. It's like we're living in a time where there's so much fear. Our crime, our murder rates have increased. Right. And we've tried a lot of solutions. Right. But, you know, I really come from a place that I believe there's a spiritual solution to every earthly problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if we can access that, if we can change the spiritual climate of our city and region, it will have an impact.
And one of my friends who is originally from here, and you know, she still works 9-to-5 job, And she said, I have lived, and I still love New Orleans. She said, but nowadays I find myself going to work, quickly going to the grocery, and quickly trying to get in my house.
Yeah.
And that's not living.
That's not living.
We live in this wonderful area because of all the things that it has. It has so many wonderful pieces to it, not just the arts, but and a lot of music and religious things that you won't get anywhere else. One of the oldest Catholic churches in the United States. You have all these wonderful things, and so many people are afraid to participate or to get out and do these things, and it affects our economy too, and that's what's not good.
What gave me so much hope, I have a friend of mine, his name's Pastor Pancho Maguilla. What a great name.
I've heard of him, yes.
Yeah, he's a pastor in Juarez, Mexico. And at the time, Juarez was the murder capital of the world. Just like per capita, we're the murder capital of the United States. And they had 10,000 murders in 5 years. And he, similar to what we're doing, we've had him on and asked him for help. And he basically did some of the same things. And he changed with a number of pastors, leaders, they changed the spiritual atmosphere of Juarez. Listen to this. In 19 months, the murder rate went down 70%. 70%. It was unprecedented. That it went from one of the most violent cities in the entire world to one of the 5 safest cities in Mexico.
And I'm sure people are still flocking there now because they're like...
It was a transformation that was unprecedented. And they did a number of different things, but this is one of the things that they did. They intentionally began to change the spiritual atmosphere, not inside the churches, but out in neighborhoods.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about. You raise up your home as a house of peace. Someone else does. Someone else does. One block at a time, it's shifting the atmosphere.
Right.
And you say, well, that's just a spiritual thing. No, it will have an impact on behavior, on people. God will honor our intentions and start shifting things.
And then people will get a chance to know their neighbors too. I mean, so many subdivisions, particularly, outside of New Orleans proper, it's just a bunch of garage doors. They go up in the morning, they come down, most people don't know who's living next to them.
Yeah.
And doing this will certainly help change that whole, because people have got to learn to be real neighbors. So tell me this, that when you all started this, you started walking the block and talking about it, or how did that go?
Well, when we started this, it started as an idea, and then it's only been about 3 weeks, 4 weeks that we've been doing it. And so we've just been, people that we've been connecting to. I've been trying to connect with religious leaders, other pastors. I'll sit with a pastor. I got to have a meeting with Archbishop Amon. Wonderful man.
Yeah, he is a super guy, and he's open to things.
He's open to things.
So tell us a little bit about that conversation.
Yeah, well, we sat down and we said, this is what we're doing. If we can get the Catholic community involved in some way, that's 60% of the Christians in the entire region. And so he listened, was very receptive, was very open, was on board in the sense that, yeah, I support this. He gave us the freedom to be able to talk to any priest, any leader in the Catholic Church in our region and say, look, is this something that you can get behind? Because it's so simple theologically, it's hard to have a debate about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if you're Pentecostal, or if you're Baptist, or if you're Catholic, we can have debates about certain things. But to declare your home as a house of peace and to pray for your neighbors, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what I think it's, the wisdom of it is the simplicity of it. And so anyway, we had a great meeting. Father Buddy, Noel was there. He's the head of the ecumenical relations. And he's all on board. We're working together. And so we're hoping to just really the whole entire community of faith to rise up and to say, let's not just sit back isolating and worrying and living in fear, but let's join hands. Spiritually, when you look at Scripture, the evil forces over an area is directly proportionate to the divisions in the community of faith. But the opposite is true too. If you can create unity in the community of faith, then the spirit of goodness begins to take over. And so that's what we're trying to do. Even with, I want to meet some of the prominent rabbis, some of the Muslim leaders. Let's sit down and in your own way adopt this, the house of shalom, the house of peace.
Wow.
And let's work together on this and take our city and our region back.
Okay. Keep that thought. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Mr. Dean Sunseri about House of Peace and the orange signs that I just put on the board, and NOLA Shalom. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Spending 4 years to earn a degree and taking on a ton of debt, that's not for me. My choice is Delgado Community College. I can start my education, then go anywhere. A great career, more education, whatever I want to do. Delgado's been here for 100 years. It's a fully accredited comprehensive college. It's also a school where people can learn job skills quickly so they can earn more money fast. Don't let anything hold you back. I didn't, and I'm proud to say I'm a student at Delgado Community College. Education that works.
Well, welcome back to Conversations, and we're having a very good conversation with Mr. Dean Sunseri. But I do want to add this, we're in no way, downplaying our police or our sheriff's department or FBI, anybody, because everybody is doing their particular job about trying to curb crime. This is simply an additive to that when we talk about, coming together, praying together. And since the beginning of time, man has always looked to a higher power for prayer. Am I right?
Yes, of course. And, biblically, there's this notion that the evilness over a city or region is directly proportional to the divisions within the community of faith. But the opposite is true too, is that goodness will come in power if we can create unity. And so that's the heart of what we're doing. I mean, you love our city, our region. I love New Orleans. Yes. And we want to have effective change. And what we're doing is not something that hasn't been proven before. This what we're doing has worked in Juarez, Mexico, in Resistencia, Argentina. My mentor, Ed Savoso, has done things there and organized where there's been transformation of the city and the region. And we're going to do the same here. But the way we do it is by creating unity in the community of faith.
And what happens with the people who live in the homes? I mean, do they, because they are living in homes where they feel like, I'm praying for our city or whatever, it tends to just spread and folks out there who are not doing good, they tend to remove themselves from those areas, or what happens?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge for the community of faith is to take it from inside the building to outside the building. And so what we're proposing is to bring it into your home. And
get out of the church. Yeah.
Out of the church,
yeah.
Make your home a church.
There you go.
Because the first church was actually Adam and Eve walking in harmony with God. So it was the married couple. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the institutional building. And so you have a wife, I have a wife. We dedicate our home to the Lord, and we say, this is our temple, this is our church. And we start to bring that same spirit of peace over every home in on our block.
Yeah.
Take it one block at a time. But you take it on the West Bank, I do in Lakeview, someone in Kenner, someone uptown, someone in New Orleans East, and we start changing the spiritual atmosphere. And why we talk about peace is that peace is one of the richest words in the entire Scripture. It comes from translated from the Hebrew word shalom. Mm-hmm. And that word shalom means not just tranquility or the lack of fighting. It means the atmosphere of God that comes upon you, and it brings healing, it brings prosperity, it brings deliverance, it brings protection. And so when I pray for peace over my neighbor's home, I'm asking for all those things to come upon them. I pray for peace over you. I'm asking for prosperity and healing and deliverance and tranquility to come upon you. We start doing that one house at a time, one block at a time, we will change the atmosphere and things will change in our city.
And that's going to affect the people who come into our homes. And it will affect the people who are not necessarily living within the constraints of trying to do good, but they'll be like, you know, something's happening here. I don't know what it is, but they'll start feeling a different way about what they're doing.
Yeah. They will. And I think that is that we need to let what's in us influence others as opposed to let what others who are working unrighteously influence us.
I like that, yeah.
So either fear is going to dominate me or the peace that has been put on me is going to dominate the fear. Right. And that's in the spirit realm, that's the battle, right? Because we have massive fear in our city for good reason.
Right. And we can't live in fear.
No, we can't live in fear.
Yeah.
So we have to take hold of and unite and say, enough is enough, and we are going to use every spiritual tool in our tool belt to take our city back, and it will have a manifestation in the earthly situation. We don't do it just in church, but we do it in our homes, we do it in our neighborhoods. My wife and I we'll walk the block, and we'll start praying for each home in the block. That's bringing it there. But what if everybody did that on every block?
Right.
It would make a dramatic difference.
Right. And if you come in somebody on your block who doesn't want to be involved, you just pray for them anyway. Is that?
I mean, even people that don't even believe in God, you know, if you say, I've been praying for you, oftentimes that's taken as a very kind thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to make you believe like I believe.
Right.
I'm just saying, you have issues, I have issues, and I'm asking for you to have a spiritual resolution of whatever issues that you're dealing with in your life so that your life could be better. I mean, who rejects that?
Nobody can. I mean, because whether you like it or not, I mean, you have to have air to breathe. You don't see it, but it's there. So there are things that are not seen that we have to have anyway.
Yeah.
So we look forward to much more coming out of this. You all have been involved in this only a few weeks, and you have testimonies from places that this really works. So you know, I want you to come back in a couple of months or 6 months or whatever, and let us know more about the House of Peace and dealing with the Nola Shalom. And for people who want to start, say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out and get my orange ribbon today, and I'm going to start working this in my neighborhood. How do they do that? And again, you know, how do they reach you all, or say, you know, I need some guidance on what to do?
Yeah, well, look us up, Transform Our World New Orleans. We have a YouTube channel. It has all the trainings, all the information. We also have a Facebook page called Houses of Peace New Orleans. Just look that up, and we will be able to help you. So far, we have about close to 50 homes that have already dedicated themselves to House of Peace, orange ribbons, and then we also have over 150 people on the Facebook page that are just exchanging ideas, posting pictures of the ribbons on their home, giving testimonies, and so it's really exciting. It's getting some momentum.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we met with the Archbishop. I met with a number of pastors who are saying, "Look, this is simple enough to where we're not going to have any theological debate."
Sure.
You know,
and I can see you reaching out to business people where they'll put big orange
absolutely,
and people, and that really stirs a conversation about what is this about, you know, because nothing is more powerful than when you see something different and you want to know what's going on.
Yeah. Isn't it going to be awesome when you go down the street of different neighborhoods and you see an orange ribbon here, and you see an orange ribbon here, you see an orange ribbon here, and you know that those people are actually having goodwill towards their neighbors and asking for God's protection upon each home.
Right. And like you said, no matter where we come from as human beings, we all have some sense of spirituality in some way, and this is non-threatening, and you can certainly just pass it on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would encourage you to consider, become a house of peace and declare your home, adopt your block, and let's change the spiritual atmosphere of our city so that we can deal with the crime and the murder and the violence that's going on and reverse the tide.
Right. And let's change the way we talk about our city, the powers in the tongue, as you say. Let's talk about that. I mean, because I truly believe that when you speak positive things come back to you. And so many people, all you hear is just you don't want to turn the TV on because it's like, okay, here it goes again. Let's find what's good about it.
Yeah, well, there's a saying is stop blasting and start blessing, right?
I like that.
I bless and I don't blast.
Yeah.
Do you know, I had this Pastor Pancho, he said, Dean, you can't change anything that you can't love.
Wow.
If you can't love, then you can't change it. And that really struck me because if I talk bad about my political leaders, if I talk bad about my civic leaders, look, I need to learn to love the mayor. I need to learn to love the city council. I need to love our I don't have to agree,
right,
but I need to learn to love.
Right.
And if I can learn to love them, then I can have influence over them. If I speak bad about the city, and so that has to do with the city. I love the city. And that's why I believe I can have influence on it. I'm not cursing it. I'm not cursing the things about it. I'm not happy with everything, but I need to bless. And it's in blessing, it's an interesting thing about blessing scripturally. When you bless someone with God's presence, it empowers everything that's good in them, but it fights against everything that's not of God in them.
Wow.
And so that's a great gift that I give when I bless someone. I have these two forces happening that's actually bringing out the best in that other person.
They can't stay in the same place at the same time.
No.
One's got to do something.
and God's spirit, we're talking theologically, is greater than any evil spirit.
Right.
So if God's spirit invades a place, it starts to eliminate the opposite. That's why we need to start spread the spirit of peace.
Sounds good. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some people who were super blessed over the last few days, and we'll tell you why. So stay with us.
Spending 4 years to earn a college degree and taking on a ton of debt, that's not for me. My choice is Delgado Community College. I can start my education and go anywhere. A great career, more education, whatever I want to do. Delgado's been here for 100 years. It's a fully accredited comprehensive college. It's also a school where people can learn job skills quickly so they can earn more money fast. Don't let anything hold you back. I didn't, and I'm proud to say that I am a student at Delgado Community College. Education that works.
We're about to wrap up this segment, and we're so glad you could be with us. Dean, thank you so much for being with us as well. I mentioned blessings to people that I know and people that I don't know, and that's because they've graduated from college. And your son Moses has graduated from college.
Yes, he did.
So extend to him my congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And we also want to congratulate the students at Delgado Community College. I call them my students because I'm on the board of Delgado. So we had, almost 2,000 young people, older, and different ages walk across the stage and receive their certificates or their diplomas, and I know they'll do well, and hopefully they'll stay here and contribute here and put those orange ribbons on their houses, so they will also be part of those houses of prayer. But they were conferred degrees and diplomas and certificates to about 1,200 85 graduates in the spring exercise. And I want to also thank my dear friend Ann Duplessis, who's on the board. She was the commencement speaker. And I have to give a shout out to a very special high school graduates, Piper and Pierce Boyd. They are the twins of Glenn and our dearly missed Nancy Parker Boyd, who was an anchor here. They basically showed through faith in God and persistence, which their parents taught them, that they can succeed and also try to move on. So we love you as well. That's going to do it for our show. Until next time, I always tell you, do something good for yourself, do something good for someone else, to stay in peace, not pieces. And let me add to that today, Nola Shalom. We'll see you.